Hey Capricorn, we're going to do your weekly reading. Okay, so the zodiacs this week are very much focused on some higher view of their circumstances, as you most likely will be finding yourself listening to this. You are at home, probably isolating with your family or on your own, whatever the case may be. And many are being drawn to some higher view, higher ways of looking at their experience, okay, and themselves. Once the dust settles of all this change, we're really seeking some higher wisdom, really, about who we are and ultimately what we want moving forward, and where to from here, because ultimately it's about none of us will be the same after this. When you see your world suddenly stop and how quickly that can happen, it shows us many things, and I hope you see the gift in the opportunity, because that also shows us that we too can change just as quickly. If our mainstream world can suddenly be put on pause and fundamentally take on a different shape, existence, reality, we too can, we can do that too. All right, but yeah, big week, Cappy. I'm picking up on Capricorns that are ultimately really, really tired. And I think even that fatigue I'm picking up on is guilt, because you are so responsible. I'm feeling very philosophical doing this, connecting into the Capricorns out there. Maybe there's some big picture stuff going on for you where you're integrating some higher wisdom and lessons of the journey. You have been on a 2-year ecliptical cycle, okay? You have been eclipsing old ways of looking at yourself and life and approaching situations, the way you approach conflict, the way you approach your goals and taking a risk and putting yourself out there. You've really fundamentally transformed and eclipsed a lot of things. And that ecliptical cycle with Cancer has been about balancing the masculine and feminine energies, okay? You can apply that as very basic understandings of, feminine energy being nurture and intuition and how we nurture ourselves, and the masculine energy about that drive energy, how we go and put ourselves out there, and because action counts, thought, prayer, intuition and meditation is great. You need to act. We need a balance of both energies within us, okay? You embody the energy of the masculine, whereby you are that exerted energy that goes out to seek change. All right. Whereas the feminine energy is about, I'm not saying you're not embracing any feminine energies, but Capricorn as the paternal figure of the zodiac, Cancer as the mother figure. That's how we're balancing male and female, the masculine and feminine. It's some strong energy, and it's a big responsibility, Capricorn, but you are, so whether you are male or female, that alpha role has always existed within you in some form or another. And I bet in this time you are doing that for your friends and family, checking in on them, making sure that they're okay, making sure they have their supplies, very tangible, practical assistance, guidance, leadership, okay? That is the gift of the essence of Capricorn. That's the beauty of who you are. And I think the fatigue I'm picking up on, like I said earlier, is ultimately about the guilt. You are used to filling your days, your responsibility list is generally chockers. And so if you're forced to do nothing but to sit, contemplate, be still, I hope you see it as a beautiful gift, an opportunity to truly connect in and congratulate yourself on how far you've come and what you've achieved over the last couple of years. It's been a big 2 years, okay? But let's check your theme. Personal power. From the darkness into this clarity. This is beautiful. You know what, Capricorn? I'm going to start by saying there is a very, very, very distinct difference between power and empowerment. So the question I want to ask you when it comes to your own personal supply of power, is it power or is it empowerment? Whether you consider yourself sensitive to energy or not, when you pick up on the vibrations of people and the energy they emit, okay, you can really tell the difference between someone that is operating within the energy of genuine empowerment and someone that operates off the energy of power. If power is an external source, is something we extract from others, from the earth, from our environment, there's a distinct way in which that operates and how it flows and how it's ultimately, it is a limited supply. There's only so much extraction we can do until it runs out, okay? Like what we're doing to the earth. When we, and let me just explain empowerment. But empowerment is, to me, this is just my personal beliefs on the difference between empowerment and power. But if you look at the word empower, okay, E-M-P-O-W-E-R, it's infused with empathy. Empathy for self, empathy for others, empathy and honor of the life force in another. What is life force? Well, we might look at it as vitality. We might look at it as spirit. We might look at it as the light that shines within, that is full of hope, that is so big and bright when we are children and ultimately gets snuffed out by life, by the actions of others that are ultimately interested in power. Okay? Power and empowerment, Capricorn. There is a very big difference. In empowerment, we are embodying a deeper knowing of what true power is. True power is not sourced from others. It is not taken from others. It's not taken from the earth. It's not taken from anything physical. It's not taken, from anything materialistic. It is a supply that comes within that ultimately is founded in a limitless supply when we truly connect into that part of ourselves that knows that it is our responsibility to access it from a limitless supply within. That can play out so many different ways, Capricorn. If you look at the world as completely changing, okay, and fundamentally, I think after all of this, none of us will ever be the same again. You can say there is a great awakening going on. Many are awakening to the truth of who they are and how fragile life is and how meaningless a lot of the materialistic pursuits we have focused on is. You can look at it as how quick our world can be shut down and how much value was it really, if so. You know what doesn't shut down? People singing to each other. What doesn't shut down is the pain that exists in the compassion between others, between people that ultimately can't see each other. There's sadness there and care and empathy and reaching out. That never ends. That part, that spark of humanity that is ultimately empowerment. I am empowered with a life force, a life spark, a vitality that ultimately sees me have empathy for the life force and life spark in another. Because if I'm operating just from power, I'm only interested in fulfilling my own needs. I'm not thinking of others. I believe in scarcity. I don't believe in limitless supply. Okay, so to truly step into our personal power, Capricorn, is a journey of the shadow elements of what we think power is into the light of understanding of what it really is. And it's empowerment, okay? It is empathy plus power. It is the journey through empathy in order to connect to genuine power. Those are just my thoughts. And I think it is in these times, in the last 2 years, as we balance our masculine and feminine energies, the divine masculine and feminine, there's this rise of the divine masculine, okay? So whether you are female or male Capricorn, the divine masculine is a more compassionate energy vibration, a more empathic vibration of what is ultimately powerful. You know, and I know our world is full of symbolism, okay? The feminine energy is about nurture, going in and seeking growth and understanding by going into the temple, going into the womb, going within. It's the quiet recesses of soul that exists, that we can explore for our truth. The masculine energy is about going out and acting on that. Once we know, we are still stagnating if we do not act. Okay? There's an important reason why we must encompass both masculine energies within us, and it's no different to balancing elements as well. Okay? There is a beautiful balancing of masculine and feminine aspects when we truly embrace our own personal power. This is the journey that you're touching on this week. This is huge. I could talk all night about it clearly. I've gone 11 minutes already. There are Capricorns out there that have come from this 2-year journey in the ecliptical cycle. I do see you've walked a path of shadows, whether that is the shadow elements of your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs about yourself, your past, your failures. Really walking out of the shadows here. Blue is the throat chakra. Maybe you're only just starting to talk about what it is that you truly see. Maybe it is you're only just ready now to start talking about what makes you feel disempowered. Okay? All of the theme cards obviously have a shadow and light aspect. I might be connecting into Capricorns that are feeling completely disempowered at this time because they are not used to the world suddenly coming to a halt. They're used to their routine and structures and all sorts of things. So let's have a look at what the tarot might want to say. This feels deep. All the readings this week feel really deep. Personal power, Capricorn. Look at her. Look at him. I'm also connecting into... Why did I see coding? You're really channeling, you're walking through some deep emotions too, for some Capricorns out there. Walking out of a time where you felt perhaps you were drowning in emotions. And I know you're not necessarily an emotional sign per se, but you're getting to the depths of some deep emotions here. And even in dream state, you might be seeing a lot of symbolism. Coding, cryptic language. This is huge. It feels huge, but I love that card, okay? But personal power, it's ultimately what we're here for. And it has nothing to do with what we can take from another person. It has nothing to do with the status we achieve. It ultimately is the essence of what is left when everything else is stripped away. When I go into survival mode, what nourishes me so that I may maintain complete empowerment and connection to trust and faith, so that I don't recklessly go out there in my very human instincts and start acting in survival mode and start taking from others in order to increase my level of my power. It's the world we live in, Capricorn. It truly is. Walk into any office and there's always going to be power play in some form. You know, we talk about empowerment and power, but ultimately empowerment is about the journey through genuine empathy in order to appreciate power for what it is. You can feel it in people. You can feel people that are operating within power, within old paradigms and structures of power, very egoic, and you know, it's about snuffing out someone's light in order to feel good. You know, you can tell the difference. And you can tell the difference when someone's operating from genuine empowerment. And true personal power is yours this week, Capricorn. Let's see what the tarot says. I could talk forever about that. Where are we up to? 15. Okay, we'll make this one quick. 2 of Wands. Queen of Wands. Page of Cups. The 9 of Swords. I do feel like let me just finish. The Fool. New beginnings. Underneath all this is the King of Swords. 6 of Swords. 9 of Wands. The Star. The 9 of Coins. I'm talking to a Capricorn. Like I said, you're channeling some heavy emotions here. You're walking through some heavy emotions. You are successfully needing to successfully walk away from some heavier emotions, Capricorn. There's an emotional chapter here. Take it how it resonates with you. You're getting crystal clear, actually. And in getting crystal clear about what you need moving forward, you know you need to drop the emotional baggage, the disappointments and pain and the hurt from the past. Because there's a pattern. I keep seeing a pattern. It might even span back to when you were 8 or 9. Oh, I felt like I had to say that. I know, right? I told you we're going to go deep with this one. There's some old emotional patterning that ultimately forms the stresses of what keeps you up at night. Okay, so when I'm connecting into the energy of the Capricorns that I'm picking up on, it's this such a disciplined sense of responsibility that you do carry, Cappy. Okay, you carry the household on you, you carry the workplace on you, the team on you. There's this false sense of having to be the carrier, provider of other people, is what I'm picking up on. This time for you is about this. Is it because you're seeking some form of acceptance that you perhaps never got? Is it because, and you know what, sometimes we're genuinely connecting to empowerment because we know how it feels to feel alone and to not. But the energy there then, Capricorn, invites you, if you want to help and make sure everyone's okay, how are you at doing the reverse of that? How are you at receiving? I know you struggle, Capricorn, because you are the provider, you are the CEO, you know, you're the born leader. How are you at receiving help, asking for help? I felt like I needed to touch on the Capricorns out there that are ultimately needing to walk away from the past, okay? Because there's patterning here in your emotional understanding and awareness of yourself that ultimately has to go because it disempowers you. There's this false sense of responsibility, guilt, all of that sort of heavier stuff that ultimately keeps you further from this feeling. And you want to feel this, Capricorn. You want to feel a genuine sense of empowerment, okay? I feel in the coming 2 weeks that you're going to start getting some crystal clear thoughts, perceptions, new ways of thinking. You might even be talking to a counselor about some stuff, okay, for the Capricorns I'm picking up on. But there's a pattern here. There's a pattern here when it comes to all of the times you never felt empowered, all of the times you felt like you lost your power and why you're now so seeking it. And that's the only message here tonight. It is about redefining what power is for you, recognizing the difference between power and empowerment, okay? I feel like there's emotional patterning here that links into childhood that ultimately is something you will move away from successfully, okay? But over the next 2 weeks, if life has pressed pause on you, there's a powerful healing opportunity here, okay, for you to truly get clear on what it is that ultimately is the core of what is keeping you up at night. The stresses, the pain, the concern, the worrying. It's this, I'm not going to say you don't have responsibility. I know that's not the case. We all have responsibility, but it's our attachment to them, okay? There's a patterning that has formed in childhood for a lot of the Cappies that I'm picking up on. An old relationship, an old way of connecting, an old time that you failed. And you know what, Capricorn, may failure be our greatest teacher. There's something old you need to walk away from, because I feel like I'm talking to Capricorns that are so scared of failure, so scared of dropping the ball, that there's this patterning that's happened, okay? What you are most seeking right now is to really step in. Now, I know this is not your element, but the Queen of Wands, she's the divine spark. She has a passion and enthusiasm for her path and her life again. If she doesn't, or he, there's a difference. She's really sitting there with her sunflower, and look at that. She has 2 lions next to her throne. I never even noticed that. And she's protected by a black cat. The gift of the darkness. Look at that. She's got 2 lions on the sides of her throne. There's some message. This is what you want to feel like, Capricorn. The Queen of Wands is a fire element. You might be connecting into Leo, Sagittarius, or Aries. You might have that in your chart, okay? But this is ultimately the element of fire, divine spark, passion, sensuality, creativity. I'm talking to Capricorns that feel like they have lost that divine spark in some way or another, and you are wanting it back. I feel over the next 2 weeks you are going to get that. You've put it out there. You know that that's something you're seeking, you're wanting. Whether you said, oh God, I wish I felt like I used to feel 5 years ago before I had this job, before I had these responsibilities. You feel like you've lost your divine spark for your path, your purpose, but over the next 2 weeks, while the world press pause, there's an opportunity for a massive new beginning for you. Okay? There is a massive new beginning here. A new way of dealing with our emotions when we walk away from old emotional stories, when we release the weight of old emotions that we've been carrying for a long time. This is also the start of a new relationship, or a new way of looking at a connection, if you like, Capricorn. Oh, sorry. Oh. The King of Swords is about really getting clear, needing light. When you yawn, I know I'm tired and it's night time, but when we yawn, we are desperately seeking light upgrades. We're wanting to clear density, clearing away darkness, walking away from the weight and darkness of heavier times, emotions, memories, some conscious stuff that's going on, letting go of the heaviness. Okay, Cappy? And getting right in our head about that. Aquarius, Libra, Gemini. King of Swords is someone that we would approach for advice. He's a mentor of the mental realms, okay? So like I said, whether you're dealing with a counsellor, or you go and see someone you consult someone for their wise advice that can help you get your perceptions in order, whatever that means. There's a brand new beginning here, Capricorn, and ultimately it means that you are moving away into more calmer and more peace. You're moving away from something. You're wanting to walk away from a situation, you're wanting to walk away from a job, you're wanting to walk away from a connection perhaps, an old way of living, because there's a difference between power and empowerment. And what if we have formed a whole life around a misconception of what success means, or what power means? What if the goals we had chosen originally are now no longer what we want? You know, this pause time, this isolation time affords us the opportunity to truly go in. And for so many, this is powerful reset, life reset stuff. You've got a brand new chapter, a brand new beginning that ultimately shapes the next 6 years of your life. So if you've been thinking of a whole new chapter, I feel like whether that, for example, is about study, is about the start of a new relationship, The next 6 years of your life is significant. You are moving into a journey where you are ultimately able to experience healing. And this doesn't have to take 6 years, all right? You are moving into a space where you are ultimately experiencing healing of the belief within you that holds you back from experiencing the depths of who you are. You are experiencing a healing based on your role as the wounded healer, okay? Your role as wanting to help, wanting to guide, but it's almost what I'm picking up on, the storyline I'm picking up on, what your fundamental beliefs that ultimately are about that picture that is painted with, here's what I'm leading them towards, this is what I believe in. That's gone. I'm picking up on Capricorns where that big vision, your ultimate goals, the way you saw life and yourself it's now void, null and void. You are receiving some inspirational healing about your role as the wounded healer and the times that you have held back from being true to you because you have felt like you've had to step into this powerful role, this role laden with responsibilities because it was perhaps something that you've taken on board as a belief since childhood. When we aren't given the appropriate support in childhood, and that could be anything, whether because a parent works too much and we've had to take on too much responsibility, or because I'm picking up on unique storylines here. Parents have suffered from mental health challenges, substance abuse. I'm picking up on Capricorns that have been responsible since day dot because they had to be. That ultimately it is very natural that path travels along a certain journey to shape and form what we think success is, what we think our goals should be. It shapes and forms how we fundamentally operate within relationships and the role we unconsciously and subconsciously play into because of our fundamental deeper beliefs about the role we need to play in other people's lives, as far as being that guide, that CEO, that support, the person that everyone goes to when they've lost their footing, like in times like this, Capricorn. And I think for some Capricorns you are even exhausted because you feel like you haven't even been able to check in with you yet. This is big. The journey you have been on is tangible. There is strong evidence of your success. This is what I was saying before about reviewing the last 2 years of the ecliptical cycle. And that 2 years has ultimately touched you in or even dragged you through the past, Capricorn, in many ways. Pushed you to the extremes of what you think success is. If I'm speaking to a Capricorn that is single, you ultimately are you are self-sufficient. You are wanting to feel, you've always been able to, money in the bank is important to you and your sense of security. You being able to kick your own goals and to achieve your own dreams is a strongly important goal for you. This is who you are, Capricorn. You are fundamentally the self-sufficient individual that you have, and you so that you've got enough to be able to do, to provide support to others around you. Okay, but this, I feel like this time is ending, but I do want to say, once you do end something, you step into this healing. There's a healing here. A healing to finances, a healing to a relationship, a healing to old relationship dynamics. I feel something's coming in. Once you walk away from the heavier emotions of the past, okay, I think they ultimately tie into your perceptions, which all have thwarted your sense of personal power, feeling powerless. Because what if it wasn't even your role to take on that responsibility, hey? Two of Cups, a new beginning, equal emotional exchange when it comes to, what am I on now? 29 minutes. Goodness me, Capricorn, I could talk forever. This is a new beginning, but this is also where we get, relationship or not, this is when we get to the crux of who we are and we get honest with ourselves and our emotions about what we need and want moving forward. For many Capricorns, you are communicating with yourselves in a new way. For other Capricorns, there's a new partnership here or a new leveling up in an existing partnership, okay? There's the opportunity here where you can ultimately address fears, gain some crystal clear clarity. When the Ace of Swords and the Sun shows up, that's beautiful energy. That ultimately you rise into your higher self, Capricorn. This has been a big theme. Do you know a Sagittarius? Because they had very similar cards here. Okay? Getting crystal clear clarity on your journey to date, Capricorn, on your understanding and your choices around power versus empowerment. Getting crystal clear clarity on the patterning and dynamics that you have adopted since childhood and ultimately played out, which has ultimately shaped your vision of what you think your goal should be and what you think success is. This pause time is your chance to do a complete reset, go back to the drawing board and redefine your own definitions of success, empowerment, love, what you choose to share, what you will no longer take on board, and what you're willing to let go of. And ultimately what you're letting go of, Capricorn, is something that perhaps was never yours to carry. Where you are heading, you are stepping into yourself. This is an awakening experience. This is coming out of the shadows into the light. This is a balancing of the shadow and light in order to get true empowerment. It is through the depths of our emotions. Okay, when the High Priestess shows up, she's pointing to our psychic and inner knowing, our higher self, okay? It's a spiritual experience. Seeking our own wisdom as counsel rather than the opinions of others. When we're always external in our focus and we're seeking approval and what do they think and is that okay, that I did a good job, we are operating in old power paradigms. When we truly choose to go within and seek counsel from within us, we are operating from empowerment paradigms, okay? It's not about dismissing other people's advice, guidance when they are more qualified or educated on a matter. Be practical in your search for clarity because we need the knowledge. We need to understand that other people have done things before us. You know, it's very humbling to take on board everything that is available rather than just decide I'm right and that's it, okay? So that too is also a power versus empowerment battle. But it's not until we truly embrace all of that, okay? The wisdom of our shadows, all that we have learned, that power is not, combined with our awakening to the clarity that comes with the light of understanding, combined is the wisdom of the High Priestess. This combination of dark into light, walking the shadows, walking down the line, Capricorn. This is huge. I told you it was huge. It's the end of conflict, ultimately. The end of the internal conflict that has existed within you for far too long, and it is now time to go so that you can step into yourself, Capricorn. You're seeing yourself in a whole new way. The Hangman is an awakening card. The Lovers, it might be to do with how much you have held yourself back in love, how much you haven't allowed yourself to be vulnerable, because you've always felt responsible and having to fulfill responsibilities, and love was never a focus, or not genuine love anyway. So many of us can enter relationships and just play a role that we've always been taught to play, okay? All these patternings, it all happens in childhood. This is about the divine union of you internally first before it can be mirrored in another. But I can also be speaking to Capricorns that are ultimately connecting into thoughts, ideas about what it would be to be in divine union with another, to truly be seen for who you are, someone that shares the same values as you. There's love here. A lot of communications, but you know what, Capricorn, communications also can be happening internal. I feel I'm speaking collectively to a group of Capricorns that are really connecting into some deeper inner knowings, changes about power versus empowerment, okay? It's huge, Cappy. I could keep going. You're embracing mental clarity with the energy of the Queen of Swords. This is a gift. This is something tangible you step forward to that ultimately funds your new lifestyle, a new career, a marriage, a whole new world. There's love coming. If you are single, you are wondering about your relationship, there is a massive love coming. But I'm going to say this starts with you, Capricorn, okay? A love of life, a love of my path, a love of my choices, in order for me to truly step into personal power so that I could immediately recognize what is right for me, people, places, career, situations, and what isn't, and what no longer is, what no longer fits into this new picture of myself, this new sense of my awareness of myself, and everything you have learned, Capricorn. You are stepping into a time of truly what resonates and what does not anymore. And that includes connections, career choices, goals. This is huge, actually. All right, you win hands down, the biggest reading of the week, I think. You and Sagittarius. It's not a competition, guys. Cappy, this is huge. This is awakening to personal empowerment, which ultimately redefines the structures of everything that you have built. And sure, it might take a little bit of work making those changes, tweaking, switching careers even. I don't know how big and grand you want to go with this, but if anyone can do it, you can. Okay? Thanks for stopping by. I hope this resonates. I hope you got something out of that, just for you and your journey. See you next week.